This is just going to be a quick video on the Grand Prix mode. The easiest way to describe this mode is, have you ever played Diamond Dynasty in the show? If yes, then you have a pretty good idea what this mode might be like. If no, then let me explain. Grand Prix allows you to be a manager in which you have to make the best team by either pulling players using coins or tickets to then compete in tournaments and cups. One of the first things I recommend doing though before you even go into the Grand Prix mode is go into the Prosby shop. If you select the second option here and then go all the way down to the bottom on the very first page, you're going to see an item that you can buy called Action. As long as you've got the VP to buy it, which isn't too much, what this is going to allow you to do is actually take part in the games rather than directing them. Some people may want to actually play the game rather than calling the shots as a manager, so this mode allows you to do exactly that. When you click into Grand Prix, you're going to be presented with all the teams in the game you can pick from. This basically just sets a base team that you'll use as your uniform and stadium. Once you've done that, you have the ability of creating your manager. It's the same as the create a player mode found in other parts of this game. If you're not fussed what your manager looks like, you can always then choose the top option and then the second option after that. All of these give you different options for randomizing your manager, so you can just flick through them until you find one you're happy with. Once you have your manager, you're going to see your initial team screen. This just lets you know which players you already have. Selecting OK here is then going to bring you to the main menu. You're then going to see 7 buttons along the bottom, along with your current active team. The first button allows you to compete in tournaments and cups. The big button is the main cup that you want to be aiming for. You start with the beginner's cup, but as you keep winning, you'll see that more and more of the spots on the map will unlock. In the top right, you're then going to have different cup matches. Again, at the beginning, you're only going to have 3, but you'll unlock more of these in different variations the more you win in the main mode. There are 2 other modes that you can see. The one with the envelope icon is called Invitational, and the one with the player icon just says Selection. I haven't got around to unlocking those yet, and I haven't seen anyone talk about them online that's not in Japanese, so apologies if you weren't looking for information on them, but once I do, I'll update. The next button is Settings for your team. The top option allows you to set your active roster. The first button after OK allows you to select your pitchers. Much like with any of the team edits, you can move your players about to your heart's content, but if you just want to pick the strongest team, you just need to hit the next button after OK, and then hit Execute, which is the very bottom in that selection. This will make the best formation it can based on the players that you own. You can also choose the second button, which then does exactly the same for your fielders. The next button down just allows you to check your players. Here you can see how their level is, how much they need to go up to the next rank, and what sort of special abilities they have. Say you want to filter the players by a certain criteria, you can always choose the button at the top, and then select or deselect the items that you don't need. The third button allows you to strengthen your players. The higher the player's level, the better their performance. There's 3 ways you can level up a player: through just playing games with them and winning, you can either use items, or if you've got the same player, you can use them. If you use a duplicate of the same player to try and level up, you also have the chance of actually expanding that level. If you're using items, you'll be able to see how many levels you're gaining in the bottom corner. The fourth button allows you to get rid of players that you don't need anymore. By getting rid of players, you can turn them into SC. The higher the level, the more the player's worth. The final option just allows you to change some team settings. The top option allows you to change your cheer songs, and again, if you want to learn how to do that, then I've got another video. The middle option allows you to change the numbers on the back of the jerseys for each player. And the bottom option just allows you to choose from wearing their regular jersey or their team affiliated jersey. The next button is how you actually get new players. Here you can spend the SC coins you can earn in the game to pull new players. At the top you just have a random pool of any of the players. The next option down allows you to get players from whichever team it specifies, which changes daily. And underneath that you have all the different positions ranging from pitcher, catcher, first baseman and so forth. The second button allows you to use tickets that you gain to pull players as well. As you compete and win in different cups, you're going to be able to get tickets. This is usually how you get some of the higher ranked players. The very first time you boot up the game, you're also going to get a platinum ticket, which will allow you to get a 350 star plus player. The next button is the player exchange. It'll be grayed out initially, but if you play a bit of the game and do well and rank up, eventually it's going to unlock. Here it's going to show you 3 players that you can choose from. Each of them will have different requirements if you want to trade for them. It might be something like trade 2 players from the same team, or a pitcher with a certain speed level on his fastball and a certain amount of break on his curveball. As more options become available, you can always cycle back to the old ones using up and down. Next you have the mission screen. By playing and winning and getting more players, you're going to be able to complete missions here. Each mission will give you a reward. You'll know when you've got one because either there'll be a yellow icon on the main screen or there'll be a red flag on this screen. There's 3 different tabs of missions as well. The first one are just the main missions. These can only ever be completed once. The second tab shows you repeatable missions which you can do over and over again to get the same reward. The last tab is basically like collections. Here you're going to have a bunch of different options going down the left hand side. If you manage to complete all the players inside one of those, you're going to get the reward at the bottom. The next button is the item screen. Here's just going to show you all your available items that you have. The first page is for normal items which you use outside of games. Here you've got things like recovering the condition of players to experience points that you can use to level them up. The next tab is for items that you can actually use in a match. You can set up to 3 before a game begins, and the final tab just shows you how many of your scouting tickets you've got. The last option is Manager Options and Settings. The top button allows you to increase your manager's level. As you do well in games, you'll get more points, and this allows you in turn to increase your level. By having a higher level, you'll be able to make more plays during a game. You won't, however, make any points if you're playing in the action modes. If you've got the points, you can also choose different types of play calling. Most of them will improve some of the plays that you can call. For example, you might be able to boost the level of striking out a player or trying to hit for a home run. The next button down allows you to change your base team if you weren't happy with your selection before. The next button down just allows you to change your appearance if you weren't happy with it before. And the button under that is just going to show you your overall manager record. Next is your player library, which just shows you which players you've collected per team. The next button shows you the member bonus list. If you put certain combinations of players in the same team, then you're going to unlock special bonuses. There's a lot to go through here, so I'll try explaining it maybe in another video. The second to last button is only available if you have Action Play unlocked. Here it allows you to change your user settings like you would be able to in Exhibition and other modes. Do keep in mind though that you can't change absolutely everything. So for example, the ball speed will be locked to a certain speed. You're only able to set your batting assist level to a maximum of 2. If you're unsure what does what, you can always watch my hitting and pitching tutorials where it goes over all of these settings. And the final button out of all of these options is just to change the background music. So once you're happy with your team and you've pulled for enough players, you can actually go into a game. Once you've chosen what cup you want to compete in, you're then going to be shown 4 options. These 4 options will determine how you'll actually play the game. The top 2 options are manager style and the bottom 2 options are action style. The top one allows you to play as a director. Here you'll be able to manage every single at-bat. The second option down allows you to do turn play. This will only allow you to make important managerial decisions on certain events. So say for example, you might have a runner on first as a pitcher, or you might have runners on base when you're hitting and trying to hit a grand slam. Picking either of these 2 options also allows you to use any items that you have. You can use up to 3 before a match. The third option is one of the action plays, which allows you to play the whole game by yourself. Here you'll play through every inning in the game, and the bottom action option is the turn option again. Much like the director turn option, this one will only bring you in for specific events. So if you don't want to sit through every single innings, this is the mode for you. Regardless of whichever mode you've picked, you're also going to see all your member bonuses between you and the opposing team before you get into a game. Along with their strength level, this is just going to give you a rough idea of what you're up against. If you've chosen the direct or turn play, then once the game begins, you're then going to be granted a screen for about 10 seconds. These allow you to set your initial policies for how you want to play. The green list allows you to set your batting policies, while the red list allows you to set your pitching policies. The batting options are be active, which just means they just go out and try and play baseball. The next option down is them being more careful and trying to look for balls rather than just swinging. After that is them trying to hit long balls and home runs, and the final option is getting them to focus on trying to make contact. For pitching, it's much the same. The top option just allows them to try and aim for strikes. The next option is telling your pitchers to throw more balls. The third option is them aiming for a strikeout. And the last option is telling the player to make easy to hit balls, so you might be able to get a double play. Once you're happy with your selection, you'll then be put into the game. If you're in direct mode, you'll then just start at the top of the first inning. If you're in turn play, then it will cycle through to whatever the first event is. Before an at-bat, if you want to change any of the settings before the play, then you can hit the button at the bottom. If you're happy with them, you can just hit the OK button at the top. You do have to decide this quickly though, as you'll see that there's a bar that's slowly counting down at the top of the screen. Depending on your manager level will also determine how many times you can make a managerial decision. The number in the yellow box tells you how many more times you can do this. So say for example you're pitching and you choose to make a managerial decision. If you click the button at the bottom, you're then going to be presented with a load of options. Depending on the situation and what your manager has equipped, you'll see a load of different ones that you can choose between. You'll have things like look out for a bunt, a player's going to steal a stolen base, let them try and hit the ball to try and get a double play, and you'll also have special abilities which you set before at the bottom, which will cost the amount it shows in the yellow box. So say you have sent out an order and it's a good decision, you'll know on the next screen because it will come up in big red letters. If you've made a poor decision, it's then going to come up with blue. But that's not to say that the play still can't work. The same options come up for hitting, so you can tell players to try and hit for a home run, try and bunt, or try and hit and run as well. You can keep making decisions all throughout the game as long as you've still got tries left available. Sometimes you might have just pressed OK to continue, but the computer will interject. This is it trying to give you a bit of a helping hand. So it might be something like there's a runner on first base and you've just said it's OK, but the runner has a lot of speed. So it might be trying to tell you that look out for a steal. Once the game's over, you're then going to be brought to the results screen. Usually if you lose, unless it's the end game of a tournament, you're not going to get any experience points and you're not going to get any bonus rewards. But if you do win, then you're going to see that your players are going to level up. The game mode and difficulty you are playing will determine how much experience points they gain. Next you'll see the reward screen for the manager, so you might get extra items, SC coins or even more scout tickets. And that's the basic flow of the game. Keep winning games, get more players, recruit, level up, keep making your squad better. You can even export this squad as well, so if you want to use it outside of this game mode, you have the ability of doing that. But that's it, this is a real fun mode, I've been having an absolute blast with this. Especially switching from the director play to the action play has made this really enjoyable. I do enjoy playing the director mode sometimes, but to be honest, I much enjoy playing the game myself. But because you can choose between the two, you can find the option which works best for you. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any comments or questions, then just drop them below and I'll try my best to answer them. But that's it, enjoy the game and I'll catch you next time.